Hello and welcome. In this video you're going to learn how to do the post lab for the measuring calories lab that we did the other day in class. To follow along with this video you're going to want to make sure you have your lab out in front of you as well as any of the data that you might need. So here we go. One of the first things you're going to notice as you get to the calculations and analysis portion is that at the very top it talks about having to make this thing called a results table. Now you may be wondering what exactly is in a results table, so I'm going to show you an example of it and then we'll discuss a bit more about how that kind of works. So in this example of a results table, you can kind of see that I've got a lot of different headings and stuff set in. Not all of them are here, so you're going to need to add a couple as you go. But the whole point of a results table is to allow you to include the data that is going to be calculated without having to show calculations for every single one of these. Now, since you did two different trials with two different foods, you really just need to show the work one time in the calculation section and then put the answers to all of them into the results table. The purpose of a results table is to make it easier for people to look at your results without having to weed through all the calculation portions. But it's still important to have the calculations as well, which is why you include a sample of each calculation in the overall analysis section, and then just inputting your answers for all of them in here. So once you have your results table kind of set and ready to go, you can start doing the calculations. Again, remember, you show your calculations one time, and then just put the results for both foods into your results table. Questions 1 and 2 should be pretty straightforward. But question number 3 can be a little tricky unless you pay attention to the big fact that it tells you to use this equation number 2, which is found on page 2 of the actual lab report. So real quick, flip over to page 2 and we're going to talk a bit more about that. So as you can see here on page 2, you've got this equation you're going to use, Q equals M times S delta T, and it's going to give you a specific heat that you need to work into the equation that will be much more beneficial than trying to use the one that we've used in class before. So this is what you want to use for question number 3. Okay, so make sure you're using this and not anything else. Again, show your work one time and put both answers into your results table. Question number 4 is pretty straightforward, so you shouldn't have too much trouble with that one. Now on question number 5, it says to use the results from questions 3 and question 4 to calculate the energy content. So you're going to want to use your result from question number 3, which is given to you or solved for in calories, and you're going to divide that by the number that you got in question number 4, which is in grams. The idea being that you're going to get your calories per gram. Again, show your work one time, record the results in the table for the other one as well. Moving on to question number 6, it tells you that you need to put your data into a class data table, and it says overhead projector on the board. I don't know who in the world still uses an overhead projector. You're going to go onto Canvas, and on Canvas you're going to find a Google Doc, and you're just going to enter your information into the Google Doc there for you and your classmates to work with. For question number 7, you're then going to copy the results from the class data and come up with a class average. Again, that's a pretty straightforward one, not too difficult. But when you get to question number 8 and you have to rank the snack foods in order of their average content, you're using the class average for number 8, not your information. Okay, so number 8 is the class average, not yours. For question number 9, you're going to need to get the nutritional labels, and it says in here to look them up. I've done that for you, and they're just on Canvas for you as well, so you don't have to do the work for that, and then answer the question accordingly. Now when you get down to number 10 sometimes is one of the more challenging ones because you have to actually do a lab and error analysis, and what we're looking for here is not calculation based. So I don't want you to sit there and say that you calculated something wrong or that you put a negative sign in the wrong place. What I'm looking for is to focus on something that is related to the procedure of the lab. A mistake where you made in the procedure or where a procedure failed you. Not something like, oh, I read the balance wrong or the thermometer wrong. Okay, these are digital thermometers and digital balances. You should be able to kind of get that information pretty easily. So you want to focus more on places where errors could have occurred due to the procedure itself. So that you've gone through and you've figured out what you have to do for each of the calculations and where to show your work, the next thing you probably need to know is what am I actually turning in for this lab? Well, the first thing you're going to have to put in is a data table. Now, the data table can be the one you have from lab, but it's probably going to look kind of sketch, so you might want to redo that one. I don't know, maybe type it up in a Google Doc, probably be easiest for you, and then you can print it out. The next thing you're going to need is all of the calculations and answers to the post-lab questions. So remember, you only need to show your work once for each calculation, and then put all results into your results table that you created. You don't have to show the work for every single one of these things. The last thing you're going to need is the actual results table itself, although at this point hopefully you've already created that as we kind of went through it. So that's it. That's what you need to do for the measuring lab. Pay attention in class and I'll tell you when it's due. Have a great, awesome time because you guys rock.